Hello, everyone. Welcome back to My Face, reviewing movies for your pleasure or dismay. Either one. But anyways, The Conjuring: The Devil Made Me Do It is the third installment in the Conjuring franchise, like the mainline franchise, and like the billionth installment in the Conjuring universe or whatever they call it. We've had movies like The Nun, The Curse of La Llorona, the Annabelle movies. There's like 3 or 4 of those, and I have loved none of them. None. So funny, Jacob. But I really love the Conjuring movies. The first two are great. The first Conjuring is absolutely one of my favorite horror movies of all time. And to be honest, the second isn't very far behind. In fact, I actually think the second Conjuring movie is a much more successful popcorn horror film, while the first is a much more dramatic and tension-filled experience. However, this one is not being helmed by James Wan, who directed the first two Conjuring movies. It's actually being brought to us by Michael Chaves, who directed The Curse of La Llorona, which kind of worried me. So what is The Conjuring 3 all about? Well, this film revolves around a real-life court case known as the Arnie Cheyenne Johnson trial, or the Devil Made Me Do It case. I don't actually know if that's what they called it back in the day, but it sounds really cool, so I'm gonna roll with it. But anyway, when a young adult known as Arnie is possessed by a demonic force, he's driven to commit a horrific act that ends up getting him arrested. And it's up to Ed and Lorraine Warren to prove the existence of supernatural beings to the court of law. And I think that's a really interesting plot for a horror movie, especially one that's in the mainline Conjuring universe that is centered around two of my favorite characters in any horror movie series, Ed and Lorraine Warren. And Jesus Christ, Patrick Wilson. I love this guy. He is such a talented performer. He's been one of my favorite actors for the last few decades, and for some reason, could be COVID related, we have not really seen him in anything for the last few years, anything big really, but he's great in the movie. He's fantastic. Everyone's really selling it in this movie. Everyone gives a really good performance. This is definitely one of those movies where if one actor breaks character, it could totally ruin your suspense of disbelief. But everyone does a really good job at selling you on what's going on in the world. But how's the film overall? It's okay. Absolutely the weakest of the 3 Conjuring movies, but I think this is all due to the direction Michael Chaves took when it came to the scares. The movie's plot is great, yes, but you can't have a horror movie centered around just a court case. And the storyline that this film chooses to go with to fill in those gaps when we're not dealing with the court case isn't really all that interesting. I think the film at times focuses more on scale instead of scares. Instead of building tension sort of in the same way that the first 2 Conjuring films did, sometimes this one focuses on how big it can make the monster's powers. How powerful are these demons? Oh, this demon can lift an entire building with his mind. Isn't that scary? But that's not really scary. It's more spectacle than it is scare. That's not to say that the film doesn't have good scares, it absolutely does, but I do believe that James Wan was a little more consistent with how he handled the tension-building scenes. To kind of expand on what I mean, the opening few minutes of the film are pretty fantastic. There was tension, wonderful lighting, and cinematography. I'm gonna show a shot now from the film, completely inspired by The Exorcist, and I loved it. But this scene sort of devolves into Ed and Lorraine performing an exorcism on a child, and I felt like I was watching the finale of a Harry Potter film. There were plates flying everywhere and furniture, and there was ultimately nothing to be scared of. The movie very often jumps from being a very tension-filled Conjuring movie to a B-level horror film very rapidly. A complete side note from what I've been talking about, but holy hell, this movie has some terrible visual effects. I don't really care about visual effects when it's not a huge budget visual effect filled movie. Of course, when I'm watching movies like Avengers or Justice League, I expect really good CGI. There's a scene that takes place on a cliffside, and the rendering of everything in the frame was just... I don't know how anyone saw this and thought it was okay, but whatever, we're moving past this. Also, if you hate jump scares just as much as I do not watch this movie. I mean, watch the movie because it is enjoyable, but cannot stand jump scares. and especially fake jump scares, and you can bet your ass that they are here. The Conjuring 3's strength lies in its plot, performances, and setting. Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga have these roles down so well, and I'm so invested in their relationship in the series that I could watch them do literally anything. And this film is more focused on them than any other Conjuring film, which I really appreciated. I don't think the scares needed to be as bombastic as Chaves made them out to be, and even the ones that aren't super bombastic are pretty repetitive, and that's kind of disappointing. I think if you're going in for the horror and nothing else, you might be disappointed overall, but if you're invested in the two lead characters and you really love the period piece aspect of Conjuring movies, I think that there is a pretty good amount to enjoy. So with all that in mind, I'm going to give The Conjuring: The Devil Made Me Do It a 68%. It's not amazing, but I do think if you're out on a weekend with friends and you go back to your place and you're looking for something to watch with a big group, this is a good one. It's not bad. It's very enjoyable. Yeah. So, do I have anything to plug? Subscribe to the Weeb's Closet. I say it in like every video now, but holy crap, that channel's taken off. We're going places. The power of anime. Yeah. Thank you for watching, and I will see you later.